Hello everyone, this is Kavya Kevalya Joshi. I had booked a flat in Lodha Upper Thane, namely Lodha Casa Woodland G1906, and Lodha wants me to enter into a register agreement for the same. I have refused to sign the agreement in its present shape and form because their agreement draft contains a lot of illogical, unfair clauses that are against my interest and extremely one-sided in Lodha's favor. I need Lodha to delete those clauses before I sign the agreement, and it's my right to have the draft agreement amended before I sign it. I cannot be lawfully compelled to sign a document that is drafted in a way that is extremely adverse to my interest. If making any changes is not acceptable to Lodha, then we can both agree upon signing an RERA's model agreement draft. This draft would have been made by the experienced lawmakers after keeping all the important factors of both sides into consideration, that is, builder's side as well as from the flat buyer's side. In my last two videos, I explained three such unfair clauses. Now in this present video, I will explain two more unfair clauses about which I have already had a correspondence with Lodha. Now the first clause is mentioned on paragraph number 11.2.2. It is all about attempt to defame. Now I will read this clause for your reference first. It says, the purchaser agrees not to do or omit to do or cause to be done by any party known to him any act, did or think or behave inappropriately or correspond or communicate in a manner that would in any manner affect or prejudice or defame the building, project, larger property or the company or its representatives. In the event the purchaser does or omit to do any such act, did or thing, then the company shall without prejudice to any other rights or remedies available in law have the option to terminate this agreement, sending the company notice of termination. Now let us understand the full meaning of this clause. What it basically means is that I as the flat buyer cannot criticize Lodha's conduct or misconduct or any quality issues in the building project called Lodha Upper Thane. Even after I pay a huge amounts of money, lakhs of rupees to Lodha towards building this project, and even if I have a huge dispute with Lodha, I can only go to RERA or any other court, but I must remain very quiet regarding my issues with Lodha. Even if the court proceedings drag on for months and years, and even if the Lodha does not honor any of his commitment to me. In a hypothetical scenario, if I were to go ahead in this deal with Lodha and sign the draft agreement in its present shape and form, then I will be forced to suffer in silence all the financial penalties and huge amounts of late fees and interest that the Lodha may unfairly impose upon me. And all the crushing loan burden, etc., will come to me. Even if Lodha unfairly withholds possession of my flat, and even if Lodha refuses to give me my flat, and even if Lodha disobeys every single court order that is issued against him, even in such extreme scenarios, I must never criticize Lodha or his project in general or Lodha Upper Thane. Because if I refuse to suffer in silence and if I publicly criticize Lodha or his project, and even if I do so with careful language, Lodha will allege attempt to defame, and he will be able to unilaterally terminate the agreement, forfeit huge amounts of my money, take away the flat, no refund the loan amount that I may have disbursed to Lodha already, and put me to a tremendous financial loss. Now, what do you mean by attempt to defame? Attempt to defame is a very vague statement. It means that I do not have to actually defame Lodha, but merely show an intention of doing so. Even one tweet or one comment on YouTube video can be called as attempt to defame and can give Lodha the necessary grounds of arbitrary or unilateral termination of the agreement, putting me and my husband to a great financial loss and pain. Defamation of Lodha can possibly an offense, but attempt to defame cannot be an offense. Now, defamation has to be proved by Lodha, whereas attempt to defame places no burden of proof on Lodha. So this is just an imaginary thing and it is totally unacceptable in any agreement of Lodha. तुम मेरा पैसा लेके बैठोगे, तुम possession late भी करोगे, you will have the deficiencies in the project, and I am not supposed to utter a word. If I utter a word, you have the right to cancel it as very flimsy. It says that I as a consumer has no right to express if something I did not like about the project. Now where is the justice here? This clause is one-sided and not a part of the model agreement of RERA as well. Delete this clause immediately if you want me to sign this agreement. Now friends, now we come to another unfair clause which is mentioned on page number 12 of the draft agreement of Lodha Upper Thane. 11.3.1. This clause is basically talks about delay in possession beyond extended DOP, that is date of possession. In case of an extension in date of possession, Lodha has the right to send a notice of extension of the delivery date. And a consumer, Lodha is giving me a tiny window of 30 days within which I may cancel the agreement after receiving the extension of notice from Lodha. Now see friends, suppose Lodha is unable to deliver the possession of my flat on the date of possession that is written in the agreement. What does this mean? It means Lodha has failed to honor his one and only contractual commitment. Under the agreement, which is to deliver a flat on time after I have paid him 100% of payment for the flat. It means utter failure and breach of contract by Lodha. In the event of such total failure by Lodha to honor the contract, can I terminate the contract and get back my money? Lodha says only within the narrow window of 1 month after he has sent me a letter saying he will extend the deadline by 6 months, 3 years or maybe 6 years or whatever. Whereas on the other side, if I am late in payment of any amount that the Lodha demands from me, I have to pay. Otherwise, he can unilaterally cancel the contract. Do you see the unfair nature of this agreement? Do you see the biased and one-sided agreement it is? So I carried out correspondence with Lodha asking them to delete this unfair clauses, which limits my rights to terminate to only 30 days. Because in hypothetical scenario, if I given an extension notice of several years by Lodha, and if I am not able to take the decision to terminate within 30 days, then termination of agreement is not possible. And I must wait for several months and even years for Lodha to complete the projects. Friends, I know I am stressing this particular point a lot, but just see what it is doing to flat buyer's rights. Even if Lodha essentially fails in fulfilling his side of the contract, my right to exit is extremely limited. Then where is the justice here? If Lodha fails, then my right to terminate the contract and exit from this deal should be unlimited. Don't you agree to this point? Besides this, there is another reason why I want these clauses to struck out from my draft. That reason is Lodha is saying that Lodha Upper Thane Casa Woodland is nearly ready for possession and will be available for possession within a couple of months. If this is true, then this clause is unnecessary. If so, why is this unnecessary clause being maintained in my agreement with Lodha? As a customer, do I not have the right to remove unnecessary and redundant clauses from the agreement before signing it? Why are you loading my draft agreement with the rubbish clauses which are illogical? So friends, my husband and I want these clauses to struck out because this is one-sided. A contract cannot be one-sided. You cannot compel me to sign these clauses and get into the contract which is one-sided and not agreeable to us. The bottom line here is either Lodha has to remove these clauses or else they have to return the booking amount to me. Jai Maharashtra, Jai Hind.